Welcome to the official Thrive Lounge podcast, where we'll take a deep dive into stories of successful business owners, exploring the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I'm your host, Ben Clay, and today we have an inspiring business owner with us, Alan Ball, the founder of a very successful and well-established transport company based in the Midlands, providing services to major retailers across the UK and Europe. Alan is a successful entrepreneur who is currently enjoying financial independence. He has over 30 years of business knowledge, is abundant in nature, and wants to share this information and knowledge with us, the good, the bad and the ugly, on how he created a successful business which is aligned with his personal values and reflected what he believes are the most important priorities in life. So Alan, can you just tell us a little bit about your business in summary?
Business started 25 years ago, dealing with a division of the business or the industry that nobody was doing into bakery products. I just seen a gap in the market, got involved in a few companies, and then grew it to a size it was when it sold, to one of the biggest, we'd call them players, in Europe.
So just for the benefit of the listeners, what area of business was that?
So we mostly targeted the bakery products for a well-known supermarket that was growing by supplying a service to a well-known bakery. We grew with them, they grew with us. That they went on to be very successful as long as myself. And we grew the business in other areas as well, in and out of Europe, with the same sort of strategy where people were struggling because it was a specialised industry. I should say, just went and seen them and offered them a service and gave it everything.
From there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so just thinking about the business over the last 25, 30 years, again for the benefit of the listeners, can you just give us a very quick, short synopsis of the kind of successes in your working career? What sort of would you define the biggest success?
The biggest success is the day when when you sell a business and you've achieved a goal that you didn't think was out there to achieve. So follow your dreams, and it's back to the same old saying, you only get out of something what you put into it. So you just have to keep going at it. Even if the times are hard, you think, well, I have more good days than I do bad days. So just cast that aside and just keep going at it.
So what was that success? When was that, and kind of what has that meant to you personally now?
Personally, family values. We've secured the family now really for life. That is my main priority, and it's just I would say, a weight off your shoulders from all the stress, all the hassle, and all really the do's and don'ts that's in the industry now. What you've gone through. So yeah, it's a good feeling, happiness. Mentally is not a great feeling because you've just lost what was really your baby, that's something you grew from nothing right the way up to when it got sold.
It's a really interesting point. We'll come back to that point in just a few moments. So, and how are things now for you? Kind of, you mentioned personally. So, how are you filling your time now? Well,
it could be a bit of a chuckle here. No, we find things to do. So, myself and my wife Lisa, who you know well, we really haven't got enough time in the day to carry out what we do. So before we run the business, everything was business 7 days a week, just the business, from the both of us. So now we have got time and we have to plan as weeks because it is quite, strange, I would say,
Yeah, I often find from clients and business owners that I speak with that when they do exit their business, they fill their time, but they don't know how they've done the job previously. Okay, brilliant. So any personal achievements? So since you sold the business, any sort of milestones that you've achieved that you're proud of? Anything that I suppose the question that most people always ask is, or I always intrigued to understand is, kind of what was the first thing that you thought about when you about treating yourself? What did you fancy treating yourself to when you realised that you had a nice check in your bank account?
Yeah, well, we can all go out and we can afford stuff that you know, it's quite nice to go out there and just not think about anything, just buy it. But achieving things, see, I'm a pretty basic person, so very grounded. I don't know really. It's a bit of an hard one, that one.
Yeah. So did you buy yourself? Did you and Lisa buy yourself anything? Or have you
Yeah.
bought
So we do quite a bit of travelling around, and we love the UK's countryside. So we ended up buying a place over in Norfolk. Just looked at it, found it, brought it, and we try and spend us time up there now, which is quite nice.
But just take us back then, right to day one. Take us back to how this business started. So for the listeners, let's just who are just starting out in business, kind of just try and take us back to that place where you was, where you were, who you was with, even go into as much detail as what you had in the bank, and kind of how it all came about. Just try and take yourself back there and just share that with us.
Yeah, so I work for a local company. I work for a company in London that we used to do stage work and support various bands and stuff. And just one day, I just thought to myself, and I'm always keen into figures, and I always like working stuff out. And my uncle just said to me, "Why don't you do it for yourself one day?" And I was quite happy doing what I did. So I scraped together about £4,500 that was in the bank. When I brought myself a vehicle, brought myself a trailer, spoke to the people that I know in the industry. They all gave me great support, and then just really carried on from there onwards, really. And it was just that was the people that I surrounded myself with, which are good people, that literally kept pushing me along, you know, but grew it gradually, not fast. That's the key.
Just before we go on to the how that progresses, did you say you were working with bands? Did you meet anyone famous?
We met a few people. You know, we have dealt with we supported people like Madonna, you know, Beyonce, Bryan Adams. You know, it's all a growing up experience.
Yeah.
It was all paid to do a job at the end of the day, but it was a perk of the job in the good days.
And this was kind of hauling
all the equipment and everything.
Around.
Yeah, so we worked for a company, and they contracted us out, and we just delivered the goods.
So you went from there, set up your own kind of, got your own trailer, got your own truck.
Yeah.
And are you of a mechanical background? Have you always been able to turn your hand to that sort of thing?
So from the age of 12 years old, I've worked on heavy plant machinery with my uncle, right the way through. Weren't a great attender at school. As I always tell people, that my mum and dad was asked to remove me from school at the age of 14 because I was overeducated. I think that's the best way of putting it, you know. So, by the age of 16, I'd got sitting guilds in engineering and various skills because I had to go to a college instead of a school. But that's just because I was brought up with adults in an adult environment, and I just wanted to be out there working, you know. So
you got your first trailer. So you set your business up, and again back then, because this is, you know, this. What year was this?
Wow.
Just after the war, was it?
Well, just after the war had finished, yeah. What would we go back to? I think we go back. So, without name dropping here, we done McCartney in Red Square March 2003. So that was the start of it, roughly around about March 2003.
Okay.
So that's when we all kicked off, really.
Okay. So you and your uncle, you've got your trailer, you've got your truck. How did you win your first bit of business, and what was it? What industry was it?
It was back into that industry, but doing it for myself instead of for the company, and they supported me. And then really just growing it with people that I know in the industry, just by phone calls, speaking. Well, them days, as we've discussed earlier, we had a mobile phone, we had to pull the aerial out, you know what I mean? It's like no internet.
Like a slab that you were carrying around with your garden slab.
You know, the glory bit was we were perhaps playing Tetris or Snake or something, you know what I mean? But no, it's just word of mouth. You do a good service and just keep ploughing at it. And the other thing as well, which is a good one, is the family support. Because the hours I put into it, like any business, you know, it's 7 days a week. Whether, you know, people might say you've done it illegal or you did it legally, you know, you had to do what you had to do because, you know, you just worked at it.
And at the time you said about your family, so just tell me about your family dynamics back in 2003 then. Were you a Lisa then?
Yeah, 2 kids, yeah.
So
dog, everything.
Yeah, living in the house, local, yeah.
Just a normal Normal house, nothing special. We live a very modest life, so still do to today. You know what I mean? But yeah, and it's just good groundings, I think.
So from a financial foundation, and what sort of money did you have in the bank for the business? So did you save some money whilst you were working, or did you go and borrow some money? How did you get started to buy those initial items? And
no, I'm not a big borrower, so I saved the money. I had help from my mum and dad, help from Lisa, and we went out there and just went at it. So once we paid them back, it was then that we was free.
Yeah.
So I passed on 2 years of it on my own, and then I started going into different industries. So then I come across a good friend in Belgium who's still one of my best friends of today. That
in Belgium? That
yeah,
sounds interesting.
Yeah,
how did you meet someone in Belgium?
Well,
do we need to talk about that one?
Yeah, we can talk about that one, yeah. And it weren't at the Blue Oyster Bar, by the way, you know. But no, it's just a good friend. And today he runs one of the most biggest successful companies in Europe.
Right.
A very big company that actually specialises in an industry which I was doing in the UK.
Right.
So, and it was just by talking to him, it just inspired me into doing, well, hold on, there's a market there somewhere, you know. And it just grew, and he was at the side of me, really.
So how did you? So again, you come from the exhibition kind of bands touring around the UK and Europe.
Yeah.
So how did you make that change then? Was there much infrastructure needed to change within the trailers, within the?
Yeah, there's lots, because we'd come from a general haulage background. I mean, there's a local guy, Steve Roundtree, and he learnt me everything. So he taught me more or less everything that I knew, and my uncle. So it was all old school people, and then it was just different. It was just by meeting my friend in Belgium, Nicholas. He was a young lad. He's younger than me.
Yeah.
It just inspired me the way that they're very challenging and nothing really phases them, and they're hungry for work.
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, I could be a bit like that. I'm not a hard person, but yeah.
And this gentleman that you mentioned there, so he kind of acted a bit of a mentor, did he?
Yeah, I'd say yeah. I mean, he took vehicles, so he really pushed me to buy other vehicles.
Yeah.
And to work for him in the UK.
Yeah. As
their sole provider of transport, which was another leap then. So then we did have to find funding.
Yeah.
We did have to go to people. And then, as we all know, sitting here, we forgot one person. We had to get an insurance person involved. So yeah, he jumped on board from the very day one, really. He was recommended to me and still is a good friend of ours still today. So, and it's just people like that, insurance, finance companies, you know, truck dealers. Russ Kelly's a very good friend of mine, you know. He helped me the way through. So it's still friends of today.
So I guess if you just went through like the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year sort of progress of your business. So just, I guess for my benefit listeners. So you had one truck.
Yeah.
How quick? I mean, I suppose it's economy of scale is the key in that game.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
So the quicker you can scale up, the better. So by 5 years, kind of, what was your highest kind of? How many trucks had you got up to at the highest point?
Over 5 years.
Or beyond, you know, so to the highest point when you were at your peak of kind of.
Yeah, so we started with 1, built up to maybe 3 in about 5 years. Perhaps about between 10 years was perhaps a different. It was a bit of a changer because we got involved with another company again with the specialised sort of work which we were doing tankers for. With again my friend from Belgium pushing me towards that way. We doubled the size of the fleet, but I still run it as if I was driving myself. I was in the paperwork myself. Doing the accounts myself, you know, just doing absolutely everything myself, minimal repairs of vehicles, you know, and then we won another little contract, and then we had to make a decision that we started taking people on board then and grow it then. So for the last 15 years, it's been pretty flat out, you know.
Yeah. So at the highest point whilst you're in operation, just for the scale, size of the business, how many trucks did you have on the road at its
peak? So at its peak, we would have been running with contractors.
Yeah.
Around about 75 vehicles every day, so over 7 days, up to 150 trailers
per day.
That were based all over in different retailers.
And was that 365 days of the year?
365 days a year. Yes, we had 2 days off, but them 2 days we were still working because it was all around retail. So,
wow.
so yes, it was a
And
flat out operation.
you was on call yourself as a man responsible at the helm.
Yep,
365 days a year. Wow. Right. Okay. So that gives us a good, obviously, sort of backdrop in terms of how you started, where you ended up. I suppose just out of curiosity, sort of on the payroll in terms of staff reporting into you and the team.
Yeah.
So how many were sort of working for the firm when you kind of transitioned it?
So we built,
including the contractors and anyone responsible.
So we've got on the books we run 100 staff.
Wow.
I'm the head of staff.
Yeah.
Run by a very good team. So we had a very small team because we was all dedicated to his own job. We all worked. We all knew each other's jobs, so we all bounced off each other. So I would say 25% of it was family.
Yeah.
We just turned up at work, just done his best, and we was all driven by what we did every day, So it was, we all wanted the same goal, and it wasn't all about money. It's all about delivering a service and keeping the customer happy, and that's a big thing,
So family and doing what you say you're going to do, they're two key values.
Two key values of any business.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously you've gone from one truck to peak 75 trucks, 150 trailers a day, 365 days of the year. That's going to come with its fair kind of challenges, fair number of challenges. So appreciate, like, if we just think back in recent times, we've had, COVID.
Yeah.
We've had, obviously, in your industry, health and safety. I imagine legislation's been, changed massively. We've had, obviously, economic cycles, so we've had highs and lows. I just wondered if, for the benefit of the listeners, kind of, is there any maybe 2 or 3 challenges that you can look back on and think these really were defining moments in my journey?
Challenges, yeah. I mean, there's lots of challenges. I mean, COVID. We'll start with COVID. Nobody knew what was going to happen there. We just didn't know, and so what we done, because the industry we was in, we didn't slow down. So, but what I did do with all the staff is we just kept them all working all the way through, and we honoured the holidays, so they didn't lose out any pay. It was a challenge, but a challenge in a good and a bad way, really. Because certain people couldn't do what we did. Some people lost their businesses through it through no fault of their own, and others just thrived on it, which we were one of them, and it was one of the most successful years, or the successful periods, I'd say, that we ever had in the industry.
Easy for you to say.
So it's that gin in that glass, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Thank you. So that was COVID. Is there anything that you could say that's changed in your industry? Because if I think about the other industries, there's defining moments, isn't there? And was there anything that really kind of can honestly set it apart as thinking back of the last 20, 25 years?
Oh, setting apart.
And I suppose the question I'm leading with there is, in business, it's important that we always remain positive, and we see change as opportunity as opposed to,
I would never say
down by it.
Yeah, I'd never say take things for granted. Never ever get complacent with anything, because that is the biggest. I would say one of the biggest problems with a lot of people. You get a nice job, you get a nice contract, that's okay until we have a change of management. You might get on with a guy that's going to retire in 5 years' time, and he retires at 65, and you've had a great relationship with him. That comes along then. At 65, there's a younger person come in with better ideas, more ideas, bring us along his own ideas.
Yeah.
So then that's a challenge, when they're changing business. But you just have to just get your head down, soldier onto it. I have had some very heated discussions with some of my contractors, my contracts, should I say. But at the end of the day, I always say, well, go elsewhere and find that service that you get.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, it's industry specific, easy for me to say.
Told you.
I'm intrigued as to how, because obviously industries change, and how you would deal with a heated debate in your industry as opposed to, say, a heated debate in other industries. Was there ever any moments where, there was conversations in the car park, or was there? No. We never had that. I mean, there's conversations where you think, 2
turn the phone off for an hour and just think, God, just go away.
Yeah.
It's just because, and it's a lot of it is being straight with people. We all tell little fibs.
Yeah.
And we can get away with a little fib. But it's when people tell lies, I think, is a big no-no, because you always get found out. And you must be straight up front with a customer. Even if you don't like the reply he's going to give you, just take it on the chin. But at least you've got it. You've had it once. You're not going to be keep hammered with it, Yeah. Just hit its face on.
And just thinking about some of the challenges for you personally. So we've talked about the challenges in business and the economic cycles and COVID. Let's talk about you specifically. So how have you developed yourself over the last sort of 20 years? What challenges have you faced personally? Is there anything that you feel you've suffered from in business personally that you just perhaps haven't been able to put your finger on?
I would say, again, looking after yourself is a big thing. So it did put me in hospital once because my battery just wore out, and it sort of learnt me a lesson for a little while, but then you're back on top of it again.
So how old were you at that point when that happened?
I would say I was around about 40 or so.
40,
It just literally just felt ill and more ill, to the point where, I just got into the car. Well, I got to be took to the hospital, to sit in A&E, to having a nurse poking needles all over you, and then telling you you're going to be sick because of this. And you ask what's wrong with you, and it's just because your battery just burnt out. You're just totally exhausted yourself.
And was there any symptoms leading up to this point? Like, how was it manifesting itself? Was there anything that you could look back now and say that was a signal, that was a sign?
I think headaches is one, which we get them every day. In any business you get an headache. But I just think getting frustrated and angry, I would say, or just frustration. I just think the slightest thing would just wind you up.
Yeah.
I just think it's because you're just so tired.
And so was it ever clinically diagnosed? Like, was it stress? Was it chronic stress? Was it chronic fatigue? Was it, did they say what it was?
Yeah, they just literally, if you want to be sitting, lying in an hospital bed, or you don't want to be around for the next 5 years, in the next 5 years, you need to reevaluate your life.
And what changes did you make then from that point onwards?
We brought a few more staff in.
Yeah. So So just for the context, and how many staff had you had before this change?
So in the office, we perhaps only run with 3 of us.
Wow.
And we're perhaps running a fleet of about, we'll say half the size of the fleet at 3 of us. So, and then we made the decision then to bring the wife in as the accountant. Bad move that was, Ben. You know what I mean? Because it was all, she found everything out. No. So this was a good thing. She'd been working as an accountant, in accounts, should I say, in a big engineering company for 23 years. So she brought a lot of her stuff in, took a lot of weight off her shoulders. And then we just got good staff in. We had good drivers that worked for us that got a good bit of knowledge. So we gave them a chance to come in and help us. So that took a little bit away. And that's where it becomes difficult in business, where you start detaching yourself from what you know every day. And that is a big struggle as well, by giving somebody else the reins when you be in control of them all the time.
And how long did that period take from the moment let's just assume that at some point you brought an operations manager or a manager or whatever label you gave them at that time. So you handed over the reins. How long did it take for you to get that person up to speed and to a point where you felt genuinely you could take a sit back at home, not that this is your style anyway, but sit back, or if you was on holiday, and realise that actually this is okay, I'm in safe hands? How long did that process take?
I'd take it a couple of years, but you never think like that, because in the back of your mind, you're still always thinking. Because if you've got an entrepreneurial mind, or the business works, you're always gut feeling in me with business. So you all want to keep up to date with everything that's going on, as much as you don't want to be sitting on your computer or your phone, but you want to be just sitting, you have an hour a day, or you go on holiday, you might spend an hour a day on your laptop, catching up with emails. But I don't think it ever went away, because you can't let it go away.
So did it create you more time?
Yeah, it gave me more time.
And then with that time, can you say what you filled it with?
Yeah, getting more business.
Yeah.
So my key thing that used to go mad at me in the office is on a Friday I used to tell them what they needed to do next week.
Yeah.
When I knew about it the week before. So I always said to them, they used to moan at me, how are we going to do that? I said, listen, there's always a solution to a problem. You just ain't thinking hard enough. I used to say that all the time. Just think a little bit harder, you'll get through it. And they used to just sit there with their head in the hands and think, how are we going to do that? And I said, listen, we'll get it done. So yeah, it's not a problem.
And it's a really interesting point though, isn't it? Because I think a lot of business owners who have started the business, who have that entrepreneurial brain, when it comes to a problem, more often than not, the business owner can solve the problem. But the team around them that are equally capable of solving the problem just don't seem to get there as quick. And sometimes for the actual owner of the business, that can be quite frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, you do get quite a bit of that because you're looking at everything as they're concentrating on one thing, and their interests are at heart to get it done. But sometimes you'll think of a different scenario, different people, just different ways of doing it. Might be that they've already done that, and it can't be done. But there's, like I say, nothing's ever going to run 100% correct.
And I think just for the benefit of the listeners as well, obviously this is all sounding great, things are going really well, you bring in your family, the business is growing. Was there ever any point in that 25-year period where financially things were really tight?
Yeah, I'd say, growing it would come tight because, like I said, I was fortunate enough I'm quite good at saving money. Come from a grounded background. So at times when we're growing, as you know yourself with cash flow, different payment terms, we've had to scratch every penny together, literally out of every bank account to pay the staff, to pay the fuel bills. We know money's coming in, but like everybody, we're going to pay it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. So, and there was a lot of that went on, but we're still long in there, and there was never a point where you could turn around and say, I just thought, oh God, there's got to be a better way of making a living than this. With the stress, but you just think, nah, you're in it for the long haul.
You mentioned about the challenges faced through the business and also faced personally, and we talked about potentially any financial hardship there. So how were you able to grow the business then? Was that done organically, or did you then borrow money and to leverage the purchase of further units? What was your style? And also, added to that question, how did you gain the confidence to make that decision? Did you build a team of people around you, of mentors or consultants that you trusted?
Early years, I would say gut feeling. I'm somebody that if I was to go and buy something and it's out there, I need to go and work it. So the conversation that we've gone across a few times, we can all go out and buy a £100,000 sports car, but the way I'd look at that is I want £100,000 worth of equipment that's going to make me money. I'd rather be making £100 a day than losing £100 a day sat on my drive. And I look at everything to this day the same. It has to give a purpose, and I think so many people, I'm not saying it in a bad way, and I don't want to sound in a bad way. In our industry alone, people get their check drop in the bank on the 30th, on the beginning of the month. You've got a big check of X amount in the bank. What you remember about that X amount is that you've got all your outgoings, all your costs, your VAT, your tax, all the people around you, your accountants and everything, all your back office. And you start ripping all that apart and start putting that to the side, you're not left with a lot of money. Yeah, you've perhaps left with quite a bit, but you've not left with what you think. So you can easily run away with just the numbers in the bank, and that is a big key in business.
And I guess as you grew the business, was part of that journey to grow it to sell, or was it, I'm going to grow a great business because I'm proud of the industry I work in, I just want to do the best for my customers? And what point or did that opportunity sort of raise its head?
We was never going to sell it.
Yeah.
It was literally something I'd done from day one. It gave us a good, I would say, good way of life, a good income. We did what we want. We didn't want for anything. And everybody was happy. It was just, you come up against a point then in a business where to go the next step, which is, the next step is, to get that next step, you need advice like yourself. What do we do? Wealth management, tax efficient ways of making money work for you. Accountants, Carl Cobain, the lad, he's been with me a long time. Carl, great accountant, very straight, sat round the table with me, as you know yourself. And we have to make that decision. Finance companies, people that are funders, we speak to them. And for us to go from the next step to become, I would say, a challenger or to take on the biggest guys out there, we would have had to put a £20 million investment into it. Right. So it took a big decision, and it was a little bit like you sit back and think, right, okay, we're going to invest £20 million. Now we've ended up with an headache, another load of stress. Do I really want it? You have to ask yourself what you want out of it. It could go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Get that one out. It could go all wrong, or it could go the other way and be very good. But
so how did you make that decision? So I'm linking it back right to the start of the show. So you mentioned about your family in the business, how important it was to create a legacy that you could then potentially set up your family. Obviously, this door, there was a knock at the door.
Yeah.
And I guess, how did you quantify that? I think that's my time, and how did you step across that line? Because I imagine if it's your baby, that's a massive decision.
Yeah, I mean, God, yeah, it's a big one. Got tissues ready. It is an hard one, but you ponder over it. It's great, You think it's something. It's a great achievement, to have one of the biggest companies in Europe and the biggest in the UK knock your door and say, look, we want your business. So I think that's achievement and all, because you're on their radar and you're getting recognised what you're doing, and you're doing a good service. And when you become what I call is the terminology, a boil on their arse, you know what I mean? Because we're doing a better service than them, and we're getting more work offers, but we can't fulfil the customer's demands. And that was a big thing with equipment we couldn't get and everything. Again, another one reason why we had to sell, because we couldn't get the equipment quick enough, So then it come down to the bit where we had to say, oh dear, that's an hard one. So then you just surround yourself by good people. And that's what I say, good, honest people. Let them have their view. My view was always that 55, we've discussed this several times, 55 was me slow down period. 60 then, we make a decision. Hopefully, we pass it on to the family. But this all happened at the age of 51.
Yeah.
After the war, actually.
Yeah.
And it was just surrounded by the people that had to reassure me. And when you've got good people around you and they're all saying the same thing, and they know I'm not a money-orientated person, so it's just about keeping me busy. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest.
So if I had to push you hard, and say, right,
have a drink on this one.
Have a drink. Get your gin down you. If you was looking at your younger self in 2003. If you could give 5 bits of top tips, it could be 3, but what is there any obvious ones that comes straight away to you? That you would do differently. The advice that you would give to your younger self.
I've been asked that before, and I don't think I would change much. It's hard. Like I've said before, you just need good people. What would I have done better? Big key better, and I'm not just saying it because you're here, is learning about what we could have done better with us money in an earlier stage. Pension, I've had one since I was 16, not putting much into it. And there's a lot of money that we've wasted as a company, where if we knew a little bit more about what was out there in the market, and there was good people out there in the market, how it could have really benefited us. And I think that's a key thing.
So just to add to that then, so what, obviously on that journey, what was the key issue, do you think, as a business owner, that deterred you from engaging with people that may have been able to influence those decisions? What was your biggest challenge? What deterred you from perhaps engaging?
Trust. Biggest thing, trust. It's trusting somebody. You got to trust somebody with your life. And like I say, I'm very much a person that keeps everything to myself that way. I don't really want to boast out to people what you've got. You've got to trust somebody with you I would say, with your estate, what you've built up. And that's in their hands. And it's just getting somebody like, to come along.
If somebody wanted to kind of take advantage and sort of fast forward that trust element, how have you always trusted somebody in the past, just for the benefit of listeners? So what's been your, thinking about the top tips, how would you have engaged with somebody in the past?
Trust.
So how would you?
It's the relationship you have between them, and if you
were buying a new vehicle, new truck, or how would you have built that trust? How would you have acted on that? Who would you have gone and spoke to?
Again, Russ Kelly, great friend.
But how did Russ come about? How were you introduced to Russ?
He was a friend from past that was in the industry.
Okay.
Similar age to me.
And is there anyone that Russ has kind of introduced you to?
Yeah, because Russ had introduced me to various of the manufacturers in like equipment wise or people, and I think if you've had a friend for so long and they trust them, that's worth explore it, and I think that it's just I think business is on trust. I think
the recommendation then you see that as an element of passing that trust.
Yeah.
To that third party, and then you're happy with over the years you've been happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing as well, when you talk about trust, it's the same as companies. I can't understand why companies employ 5 people when you've got one good person there that can do the job, and that's the same thing, because they don't put the trust in that one person. They want to share it amongst 5 people, and it's a difficult one. Different.
Trust, engaging with people, getting the right people around you, which you spoke about a lot in this show. So, is there anything else that you would, younger self, that would have perhaps got you to the result that you've achieved quicker? Or thinking about the journey, did you enjoy the journey?
Oh yeah, great journey. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, invest and buy smartly, and it's just learning. I've learned so much, and I'm still learning today. What is available now that weren't then, but I wouldn't change it for anything. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm raring to go again. I've had a couple of years. I'll have a couple of years off, and come 2025, July the 1st, I think I might have a little go at it then. But no, I mean, listen, I need a challenge every day. My life has to get up. I have to get a purpose to get up in the morning. At 5:30, we're up every morning. We have to do something every day. You can't just sit back and think, I don't have to go to work today. I still do stuff every single day. But I don't know, Ben. I don't know. It's a weird one, that is.
So, in terms of the advice you'd give yourself, so we've got trust, and I get that. That's I could just linking it back to the purpose, the purpose element there. So, you've mentioned it already today that you're quite humble. You come from very kind of working class background. Money isn't the be all and end all.
No, money's not a rule of life. It doesn't, as long as there's enough in the bank, as long as my bills are covered, never owed anybody a penny. That's the other thing with business. When people sell a business, you do get the green-eyed monsters come out of the closet, and that is an horrible thing. And I think in business, there's too many people wanting to applaud a failure that turn into,
celebrate success.
Celebrate with pats on the back and saying well done, and I think that's wrong in business.
Do you think that's just because we're British, or do you think that's
there's
just
a lot of jealousy? You know what I mean? And we're all human beings, and we're not all the same, but everybody's got the same chance to do anything. Yeah. Whether it's I don't know, whether it's making bottle tops or whether it's transport, whatever. There's an element of something.
So I suppose just taking it back even further. Then. So you were 14, and you were. I think, what was your words? How did you explain it? You were overeducated.
I was overeducated at school, so I was asked to leave.
So let me picture the scene then. So if you went to a school now and seen someone like yourself at 14, what advice would you give them, knowing what you've achieved in your life? And I suppose thinking about the education system.
I'd totally change. I mean, I'd be hard at it, because I think there's a lot of people now, schools have come on where we don't have to get his hands dirty. You can make a comfortable living out of things like technology. It's a weird word, that, isn't it? But no, there's a lot of stuff out there that, you know, we've come across it today. You know, when you're dealing now with solicitors and various legal people now, you know, charging by emails. You know, what's an email? You know, it's like we're saving the planet with the paper. Now we're getting charged 27 quid or whatever it is, 30 quid, 18 quid just for an email. Yeah. So you might as well put a stamp on it and send it through the post. You know, so I don't know. There's lots of things that I think I'd be more interested. There's a lot more out there that to explore. And I think in our days it was, like I said, we didn't have a mobile phone at school, which was perhaps a good thing, really. You know, it was people had respect, a lot more respect for people.
Okay, so if we're going to wrap things up now, okay, if we had to summarise succinctly as possible.
Wow.
What's the best bit of business advice you have ever been given?
I've been given a lot.
I want to try and keep this succinct.
Right, okay. We ain't swore at all, have we? No, listen, no. The biggest bit of advice I think that I've ever been given, and it's true to this day, you only get out of anything what you put into it. You know what I mean? And I think that's just key. You know what I mean? If you're there and you're working hard at it, and you got a reward at the end of the day, you know, I just think that's just an achievement. I don't think it's about, you know, it's not about borrowing money. It's not about anything else. It's just literally just trust the people around you and just work hard at it. Because then if that's your dream, it will come true one day. It might not be in 5 years. It might not come in 10 years. But it could be in 20 years. I mean, Mum just come along, you know, and it wasn't planned. Yeah. So that's it, off down the pub.
Thank you so much, Alan, for sharing your incredible journey with us. It's been truly inspiring. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Tune in to the official Thrive Lounge podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode. We'll be bringing you more insights from successful business owners. Thank you.